Hi guys, welcome to Creative Tap. Today we're going to be looking at a new feature in Photoshop 2021, which is neural filters. So let's cue the intro and dive on in. So, like I said, we're going to be taking a look at some neural filters in Photoshop, which is a new feature. I'm going to look at the Colorize one first. So I've got this black and white photo open. Just before we have a look at it, this was my result when I did it manually, recolored this photo manually. So we're going to see if we can get any similar results with the neural filters. So if you were to open a grayscale image, to make sure the neural filters work, you just need to make sure you go to image mode and change it to RGB rather than grayscale. And then we can dive on in. So let's go to filter and neural filters. And you'll get this panel pop up on the right. You'll want to go to this beta filters by here, because they're currently in beta, and come down to Colorize. And if we turn that on, what you'll notice is all of a sudden we've got this colorized image. It's done a semi-decent job. You can play around with the cyan, so you can add more cyan, for example, or you can add more red just with these sliders, and it should update for you. So I'm just going to go with the default for now, maybe increase a little bit of the cyan just to color balance it a bit more, maybe touch of yellow, and yeah, just something like that. Okay, you can turn the preview on and off. So this is where we've come from, and this is what we've got now. And for your output, you can either make a new layer, make it as a smart filter, have a duplicate layer with a mask, and the mask will be wherever it's made changes, or you can just kind of update your current layer. I'm going to go for new layer. So let's click OK. And then what it'll do is it'll save it as a new layer above, and you can disable it, and this is what we've got. Now I'm going to compare it to the one that I've done manually, and at the moment I feel like the one that I'm doing manually is working better. You know, the skin tones could do with some improvement, but that's kind of where we're going. So this Colorize neural filter will always get better as we go along. This photo by here has already got some color in there, but it's got some really nasty sort of color fading in there, and it just looks really not nice. So if we go back to filter, neural filters, and let's come down again to the Colorize, let's see the result we get. So all of a sudden, if we turn it on and off, you can see that the cyan cast has gone, but it's a little bit too warm at the moment. So we'll introduce some cyan back into it, maybe a touch of yellow or a touch of blue actually. Maybe a touch of green, and yeah, you can kind of play around with them. So I'll click OK. It's not done a bad job. It's kind of balanced the colors a little bit, but again, the one I did manually I think is working a lot better. But like I said, this gives you it does give you a sort of a really good starting point, you know, especially in here. It's adding color in the right places. It knows the grass is green, that this would be possibly a gray jacket, brown sweater. It's getting the skin tones more or less there. So that's quite good. We're going to move on to another neural filter this time, and we're going to look at Smart Photo, which will, if I just turn this on, it can do many things. It can change the look of a photo, and you can see it's made me look really old here. So I'm just going to delete this little smart filter by here. We're going to go to, we've got the image selected, so we'll go filter, neural filters, and we'll come into here in the beta and go to smart portrait and turn that on. Now within here you've got a load of stuff. So if I wanted to make myself look more happy, for example, I can go to be happy and turn this up. Let's say to 24. Now that actually looks quite terrifying, so I think I'm going to take be happy off. Let's try and make me look more angry. And again, that looks really, really terrifying. So I think what I'm going to do is turn anger off and maybe make myself look a little bit more happy, but not totally. Even though that wasn't as much as before, it still looks a little bit terrifying, so I'm going to turn be happy off. But you've got loads of stuff in here. For example, facial age, hair thickness. That's one which I definitely need. So let's turn up my hair thickness and see what happens. And there you go. I think I preferred my hair before, I'm not going to lie. With some photos, this works really well. With some, it just doesn't. It's not quite there yet. You can also change your head direction. So let's turn my head a little bit to the right. There you go. And I'm turning a little bit to the right. You can do it back to the left. You can alter the gaze, and it just positions the eyes differently. So let's have them looking to the left. Okay, and that looks slightly terrifying as well. So I'm just going to dial that down just a touch. I think what I'll also do is I'm also going to increase my facial age just to try and make me look really old. Okay, brilliant. And now I look really sort of derpy there. I'm going to take the anger down. Oh, it's already down or turned off. I'm going to turn off the gaze and head direction just to see what the facial age does on its own. And, you know, on its own, that works relatively well. I'm quite impressed with that. So I'm just going to click, in this instance, I'm going to click New Layer, and I'm going to click OK. And there you go. It has maintained my facial features. You can still tell it's me, but it's just aged me a hell of a lot. So that's looking quite cool, quite interesting there. What we're going to do now is we're going to see if we can do the reverse to this guy by here. So I've already given it a go. So I'll just delete that. Now, if we go to filter and where is it? Neural filters. Let's come into the beta. Let's go to smart portrait, and I'm going to turn down the facial age. So let's see what it does. Okay, so not too bad. Not too bad, really. Let's just turn the preview on and off. That's not too bad at all. I'm going to try and give him a bit more hair. Okay, and that hair is quite grey, and there's not a great deal less, so I'll try turn it up. But yeah, the hair really isn't doing a lot for him. What I might try and do, there we go. What I might try and do is bring down some of the happiness so he's got less of a smile. Hopefully that'll get rid of the wrinkles on the side. Okay, it didn't really do that much for him, but if we look where we've come from, we can go between these two, and it's de-aged him a little bit, but it's not perfect. So let's just click OK, and then we've got this before and after. He looks quite feminine in the de-aging as it goes. I think it's because they've blurred a lot of the detail in the skin. So let's have a look at one more before we move on to the style transfer. I've got an image here and it's got quite a lot of depth in it. So if we go to filter and neural filters, with this, what we can do is go into the beta and Depth-Aware Haze. So if we click this on, what the software is going to do is it's going to work out what's further away from the camera and what's closer. And then, as you can see there, it'll add a haze in there. And that's going to be really useful if we're doing stuff like matte painting. And what you can do when this is turned on is you can add some warmth, so it almost looks like a bit of a sunset, or you can add some sort of cold tones into here. And I think this can be really, really powerful, actually. Let's increase the haze, maybe. Increase it up. And again, it's just made that shot look a lot kind of more moody. And that's really great. So what you can do is go to, let's say, new layer. And if you think it's a little bit too strong, well, let's dial down the opacity a bit. Okay, and honestly, that's looking really, really cool. What I'm going to do now is show you some style transfers. So if I just get this image by here, go back into neural filters, and let's go to style transfer, and let's turn this on. Now what this will do is, again, it's based on machine learning, and it's going to take these different styles which we have on the right and try and apply it to these images. So let's have a look at a Starry Starry Night by Van Gogh. Let's click that, and let's see what that does to the image. Okay, so that's looking, it's not looking too bad. You've got loads in here to choose from, but you've also got at the bottom style strength. So let's see what happens if we dial this down. Okay, so it's a little bit less, obviously. Now, what about the brush size? What if we chuck the brush size all the way up? Okay, so very, very minor changes there. I actually like it with the brush size all the way up. And let's turn the style strength to 100. Okay, very, very stylized. So those are a few of the new things in Photoshop. Let's just go new layer and click OK. And yeah, so those are a few of the new things in Photoshop. If you have this style transfer, why don't you try going to like overlay or a different blend mode? Multiply, for example, that's quite interesting. Difference, exclusion. Yeah, so if you use different blending modes, you can get different looks. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you learned a few new things. Have a play around and tell me in the comments below how you're finding it, what kind of results you got. But yeah, cheers guys for tuning in, and I'll see you in a future tutorial.